Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tony Talking Trash about music. How you doing today? Today we are going to, or this evening, I guess I should say, what I want to do is I want to talk about a relatively new phenomenon. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on and what's coming up here before I start. Remember, hit that like button. Get involved with us here. Leave some comments. Leave comments about anything that floats your fancy. If it's about us or something, I know we're not top of the notch here as far as the technology and such goes. We're trying to just lay out the bare old man ways here. And then in this way, what I have today is a little bit different in that it's a new one. I'm going to be talking about the band, the Lemon Twigs. The Lemon Twigs is kind of a phenomenon, really a completely retro band who has rejected any sense of any modern styles or any modern productions. I don't really hear anything in their music at all, past about the 80s. I think that a lot of the stuff are done with different ears. Now, they've released just a handful of records. I'm not going to include Brian's solo record that was released this year. Number one, I don't know it real well. I mean, it's pleasant enough, but I'm going to limit it to the band. I don't really know. I never really heard the distinction as to why this is a Brian record. I guess Brian maybe dominated a little more of the songs. I haven't really looked at it yet. I don't have that on vinyl yet, and it's I find it kind of hard to track down. Maybe we can get it here shortly. But I'm going to be rating the Twigs. Of course, the Twigs grew up, New York City. uh they had a live band, two brothers, Brian, Michael, Adario. If you see a lot of pictures of these guys, I mean, they dress essentially like the Faces. They dress kind of like the Faces. They're huge Todd fans. uh Todd played with them at Coachella, I think, when they played after their Goes Hollywood, their debut record, was kind of a remake of their original thing. But they put out a cassette to start with, and that local cassette ended up being picked up, and actually they were promoted by the guy from Foxygen. I forget the guy's name, but he ended up. But the guy's name is Jonathan Rado, of course. That's right. And so he was the guy that got him going, got him forward, and before you know, they're signed to 4AD. Now they put out this local cassette. The local cassette had very low numbers on it. I don't know. You guys would know. I think it's 100 of these. So, I mean, it's a thing called Wind Spear, which is kind of their own thing. But they essentially grew up in New York. They started off in an apartment, in Queens, in an apartment. As there's not much real estate and space. They ended up moving right out there to the. I'm sorry that I jerked. I just got stung by something here. They ended up moving out to the island, and so they're out on Long Island, as they say. And they had very supportive parents. They had a mother who had been involved some in arts before, and their father was an accomplished musician who had played. And I thought the Adaria maybe had something to do with the strings. I don't know. I've not been able to see that. So, but anyway, at Hicksville High School in Long Island, and they encouraged them to play all kind of different instruments. So they all grew up, trading off. You play drums, and in the early days of when they played, and I don't know kind of what's going on now, but the live shots that I saw in some of the early days had them like trading off on drums. When one would go play drums, when the other one had to sing and stuff. It was wild. Um, how do you describe them? Well, anybody who's heard them knows. I mean, they have a sound. The sound, no question, influenced by the Beatles. No question, influenced by the Beach Boys. But what makes it more remarkable is their production techniques. They deliberately eschew anything modern. They have a sound, and I'm assuming, I've never studied, I've never heard of it, but it sounds to me like the product of them trying to get vintage equipment, trying to make it sound. I guess that you could say, if there's something else we've talked about on this channel before, I guess XTC's Duke's Stratosphere, when they went back and got some of the vintage equip and stuff, they tried to get a sound through that. Well, these guys, I think like that. And their concerts. I've seen their concerts. They're really a magnet for geeky girls. I hate to say that, but that's kind of what it is. But it's very poppy music, and it's poppy music, and they've tried different things within that realm. I think when they first started off, they put that cassette out, and that cassette came out, and they ended up then going the Do Hollywood, and they started playing. They're kind of phenomenal at the beginning, because here are these guys, just living life, refusing to live in, as far as their art goes, refusing to take anything really. And they might argue against that, and somebody else might argue against that, and that's a good thing for you to leave a comment here with. That's what makes them so controversial, but they are so ridiculously retro about everything. And I found them to even be more, as time goes on, they've really gotten better at getting the sound, like the certain sound, even like of a London studio, and some of the recordings, even like Simon and Garfunkel. And I'm noticing that some of the newer stuff, like the Brian solo record, and I think even from Everything Harmony forward, really, I think really sounds like that. And it sounds like the production is modeled a lot towards that. If there's one aspect of that, uh, and that's the one aspect of that I don't really like. I mean, I don't understand that. I don't understand the mindset that has this. I know what they're going for, and they do it very, very well. And it's just amazing to me that we have a band here that, a bunch of young guys that were two young guys, and then whoever they have with their band. They start off with a couple guys, solidly in the band, but since then they've had a touring thing. They've done TV, they've done the late shows, and they've really covered a lot of ground. When you think about 2017, I guess is where their first Do Hollywood goes. And if you look back to the cassette and everything, the genesis of that, it's about 2014. And really, Do Hollywood is kind of a remake of a lot of those things. So I'm not going to count that cassette when I'm doing this. But let's count through this. And this, let me tell you something. For me, and I've listened to this music, I've listened to this band as much as I've listened to any really new band, uh, pretty consistently over the period of time. And I can tell you this, that they've played in Pittsburgh quite a few times at some small places and places that, to me, it was really interesting to go. I know the guys in Taste Like Music, those guys are fans of Lemon Twigs. I've seen some of their things before. They've praised them. They're probably friends of them because of their online presence and dominance. Pardon me for bumping into that. You see our high tech there. That's kind of an effect. Uh, Nevertheless, I've not ventured to go up there. But the point is, I've not ventured to go up there. I just get the kind of an idea that it draws a lot, pretty much a younger crowd. Maybe I'm wrong. A lot of girls and stuff. They've got kind of that element to them. They've got the Bay City Rollers element to them also. I mean, you can't help it with it. You've got a couple good looking guys, you know, every time, posing and playing on stage and dressing the way that they do with the rock idioms, and cutting shapes, on stage. It's just that's what it's about, and it's just kind of strange to me that I really expected at this point to go stylistically a little bit, embrace some more of the things. But I guess they want to stay where they're at. They think it's a golden period. Really, Beatles freaks, as I understand their family, very much Beatle freaks too. So am I. So's anybody with a brain. I think. I mean, I shouldn't say that. There's some people that don't like Beatles, but I'm a big Beach Boys fan too, man. And I think the Beach Boys figure, pretty prominently. And I think that you can feel that a little more as we go on. But let's get started here, man. I've been talking a long time. Let's talk about the last record that I am going to go to, and that is going to be. And I don't really like to be. I don't really like to be. I don't really like to be one that agree with a lot of people. But I did see some stuff on the road. I guess we're going to talk about. And this is not a low point record. I'm talking about the Strange opera from 2018, Go to School. This is a strange record. It's a concept album about a chimpanzee being raised as a human boy. Todd's on this record. There's some other people on this record. Who else is on this? Joey Stevens, a big star, I think, is on this record too. Four sides. You look at them here standing. You got one guy there doing his. They love to do these poses. These like 70s poses and stuff. They love to cut the. They love to just be stuck in those things and look at the clingy and the boots. But anyway, the music. And let me show you the inside of this. And this is pretty well done. I mean, I can't say it's not well done, but I will say, in my opinion, and for what I like, the first side to me is not as attractive as the rest of the record. I think side two, it starts to come alive a little bit. Small Victories is good. Lonely's really nice. Queen of My School, though, is big. Starts off that and the fire. And I think if you give enough at the end, I think it's a decent record. It's written and produced by these guys. It's their second record, really second big record. I mean, Do Hollywood is first, and if you talk about the chronology of stuff, Brothers of Destruction, the EP came before this, which isn't bad. I would probably rank that down around here too. But this, of course, would be. Let me see what number here. This would be number 5. This would be at the bottom, number 5 at this point. So I'm sorry, I didn't even note how many they had. I just have them in order. I've been listening to them a good bit. All right, let's talk about 2016, I guess, is what they're saying that this release came out as. And this is the first one, of course, that I had. I'm talking about Do Hollywood. This is a lot of these songs are worked over again, worked over versions of those ones that they had on the cassette. And once again, look at them. You've got Brian and Michael, and you got two different guys. And as long as we're together, these words, that's the song that I like. But this is really, this record has there really has been a change. And I think if you look at the complexity of these songs and the multi-part of these songs and the seeming, complication for sake of complication sometimes, if you want to make some kind of a criticism between this and what came, what I rank higher, which I think has been honed further. But if this is what you like, if you're a big fan of Fred Frith and Henry Cowell and stuff like this, you might like this type of stuff better. I mean, but it's really not like that. This is very, very poppy. It's got great vocals. But these words, of course, baby, baby, that. I want to prove to you starts off great. As long as we're together. Frank, a great snake. Yeah, this is a great album too. This is a very good first record. But of course, like I say, they had a couple takes at things, and I've noticed that too myself. A lot of times, even personally, when I've and I'm not on the level of these guys are on, but when I'm doing things, I notice that sometimes when you redo a song, you do a song one time and then you redo it again. Seems like you've got more control over it, and somehow it's a little more strident. And I think, from what I've heard online from the 100 level cassette here with this, this is what it is. And on the freeway for the 101 South, Do Hollywood, man. And they're from Long Island, and they're checking it out. And that is my number 4. Now we have 3 left to go. Where are we going to go with these 3? Well, I am, and let me just tell you something, man. I am a fan here of Harmony. Very big fan of Harmony. But I have to go with their last record here. And I don't know if this is A Dream Is All We Know. This is kind of why we get the Michael solo record after this. I don't know. Or really Brian solo record, I should say, not Michael's solo record. But you would think, I don't really understand why they would put out one, because to me, I think they're both really important to the sound, at least from what I've heard. But I guess maybe Brian does have dominance, and that's why he has a solo record. Now I've got one, of course, with the poster, everything in here, but this seems a lot more teeny bopper to me. And you got a lot of credits here if you look on this thing, and it's beautifully designed. Whoever did this really, really did great. But Lemon Twigs, this is it. Brian again is probably the man, and that's why he got solo record and all. Michael, I think, is very, very talented too. I mean, if you look at the credits and what they did, I just don't know why there would need to be a solo record. I'm hearing it, but I did hear the direction of it, and it's coming on this record. And you start to hear the Simon and Garfunkel. This record, let me tell you something. This is one that I got up at the get the price tag on it. I'm sorry, but I got it up at the Yellow K Records up in Frostburg here. Kudos to those guys. Anyway, My Golden Years was the big song from this. But the thing that I notice is this is even more in a box, I think. And that to me is maybe what is disappointing. And maybe that's why I need to listen to Brian. Maybe Brian bust out of this more. But this sounds like almost like they're restricting themselves to a certain production sound. And this is produced by them again. They're making their own sounds. They're big boys. They know what they're doing. And to that end, it's remarkable. And to their ability to be able to mimic the great old production sounds of great sounds of this, I think they ended about hunky dory, because I don't really hear too much after that. They really like Todd in the 70s, but I don't hear a lot of. Most of the stuff is 60s, and this is very 60s. And the vocals again are exquisite. You've got the Beach Boys influence, the Brian Wilson influence here. But let me tell you, this is a strong record. It is number 3. I can't really tell you, if it's near number 2 or number 1, fine. I mean, I don't really, I understand that some people want it perfected into that. I was a little bit disappointed that they really stayed in the box a lot, especially when it got to side 2. Side 1, I was a little bit, okay, yeah, this is cool. But then, I expected more and a wider variety of sounds. And I think to me, that's where that one a little bit falls short of these. Now, if you're going to talk about here, number 2, and number 2 is going to be songs for the general public. I originally had this a lot lower, but the more I listen to this record, Hell on Wheels and stuff, this is really the to me sounds like the basis of their, even though Do Hollywood is one that was there. This just seems like they're together by this time, and you're talking you're talking. Let me see. Let me get here forward to this and see if we can get rolling. But you're talking Hell on Wheels, life and live in favor of tomorrow. No one holds you closer. I mean this first side is really, really good. Second side, good too. Leather Together, a shame. I just think it sounds a lot more together. You look at the inside. Here is, let me pull out this bit for you. It shows the boys here eating. Look at, they're always posing. It's just so funny. And it's funny, Michael's always the one doing most of the posing, isn't he? Maybe that's why, I don't know. This is a great shot. This reminds me of walking in the city up when my wife and I are there. It looks like government buildings. It looks maybe even like Brooklyn. Beautiful here, right in the background. If this is New York, I love New York. Man, I do. Whatever city is, I love it. I live out here in the country, but I do. I love the city too. Really, really do. Anyway, this is number 2, songs for the general public. I think this is the one that really kind of made it known. This is what they're about. The first one, they lost a little bit of a good bit of the complexity here on this. It's still here on it. Their songs still have the little slick endings and hooks and things tagged on the end and codas. But they're very much, they got the feather here sitting on the side like Todd had. They're just funny. They're really funny. Brian looks Brian looks very, very like 70s glam. This is probably okay. You want to say which is the glam record? I guess if you're going to say what's the most glam record, probably this one is. And this was one where I think they lost a lot of the complexity stuff off the first record that they had even a little more complex even I think in some of the forms that were in the cassette before that. So they had revisions. They're smart enough to do that. And that leads us to the number one record. There only is one number one record, and that is, let me get forward. That would be Everything Harmony, and I think this is where it really came together. And that's why I was a little bit disappointed when I heard the last one. I was encouraged to buy that, and I'm glad I have it. But I mean, that was the only one that I didn't have at that time. Everything Harmony. This track is fantastic. When winter comes around, it just sounds like every day is the worst day of my life. It just sounds to me like it's together. It is together. The production is together. The vocals on this have really taken a shine. This is the Brian Wilson record with the type of sounds of the old studio and the echo chambers and the way that they processed it, very much like a Spectre-ish type of a deal where they would build two things on one. And they also did so with the instrumentation, even though it's sparse. They did it with the instrumentation as well. If you listen closely, they're playing the same type of lines together, the way that Brian and Spector did to create almost a third instrument. They got that together. I have this too. I have these postcards here, or this postcard thing inside here. But I just think this is really a fantastic record. It's a lot of people say, well, this is where it changed, but I think it did change. I think it changed here. I think you realize that still there's going to be limitation, but I think the prominence of the vocals and the prominence of the harmony vocal kind of took over for the glam thing on this record, and I think for the better. This is where they maybe some people have said, and this is a stupid thing to say, and this is a dumb thing for me at 65 who doesn't have a speckle of the talent these kids have. They grew up a little bit, from this record. This is their mature record. This is a record more mature. This is even less, more bereft of those complexities that popped up in the earlier uh, do Hollywood and the early stuff that even some of the general public and showed up in Go to School, which again, Go to School. Looking back on Go to School has some great moments in it. Every one of these records has some great moments in it, and I think they've consistently made pretty good records. Go to School is a little bit, I don't want to say pompous for its time, or maybe a little bit ahead of its time yet, and I don't think people were ready for it. And I think maybe you can, in perspective, see that now better, that they have matured and they have done Everything Harmony, and they have done their last record, and Brian's done the last record. So let's find out. Let's see what happens. Let's see if the other brother. Let's see if Michael puts out a uh, solo record. It'll probably be more rock, and this the stuff I've heard from the solo record has been kind of mellow. But anyway, kudos to the Lemon Twigs, but they really are an oddity in that they do completely eschew any kind of modern production, and their ultimate goal, and you can tell by listening to it, they're setting their sights squarely on the 60s and squarely on Brian Wilson and squarely on beautiful music from the 60s and the 70s that's lush, that has great vocals, and they like to play to crowds, and I just hope they make money. I don't know if there's big enough of a market for anything like this now. It's hard to get money in the industry, but they're out trying to do it, and this is what they wanted to do. And thank God, wouldn't we all love to have parents like their parents that they kind of made it happen for them? So kudos to them as well. And I'm so happy that there's the band out there now. I know they're doing their own records at this time, but keep it up if you can, please, man. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Please leave your comments below. Leave your list for this great new band. And, yeah, great. I know they're ridiculously retro. Okay, I understand that. And I know that some people will just see it and put it in a small little corner. But I think if you look at the harmonics involved too, they are progressive, and they do not just take the Brian Wilson and the Beatles thing, but I do think they reasonably expand on it, much the way that Rundgren did when he took over for like Bacharach and the pop stuff that happened at the time. At least till he ran into his little experiment on was it a true star? But anyway, that's a story for another episode here. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. I appreciate it, and we will catch you guys next time.